So I got a DM from a guy on Instagram asking what makes girls stay loyal. And I scrolled up and I saw that our conversation earlier, might have been a couple months ago, he messaged me about breaking up with his girlfriend. So I presume the question and the breakup are connected in some way. And he wants to know what causes girls to cheat. Or the positive, stay loyal. Now, a lot of people want to give simple answers. And their motivations for simple answers, either the ones giving it is because it's easier content to make, or their understanding of loyalty or whatever topic they're giving advice on is limited, right? It's limited by either their experience or their level of wisdom, right? Because you can have a lot of experience but still not know what the fuck is going on, right? That takes a brain and the ability to cut experiences into pieces and find the wisdom in it, right? And the people who want to get answers, they want to hear something simple that is easily fixed, or in a lot of cases, deep down, they want to alleviate responsibility, right? And the biggest way that people alleviate themselves of responsibility when it comes to bad things happening to them in dating, right? Whether it's a girl or a guy. They're assholes, right? Some girl is, why is this happen or this happen? Oh, because he doesn't deserve you. He's an asshole, right? Or guys. Oh, why does she cheat? Oh, whatever, bro. Hoes be hoes. Brothers are forever. Just forget about her. Da-da-da. If she was a good person, she wouldn't cheat. Okay. Most people want to focus on this. The ethics of the other person, right? The morality, the integrity of the person who violated their trust. And they want to focus on that because, like I said, it takes away a lot of your responsibility and it just makes it simple. This person's a bad person. But we know in our life, if we're honest, and other people, that good people can sometimes do things that aren't great, right? If your definition of a good person is they're always perfect, holy shit. Like, you have very strong standards, and I pray to every god in the cosmos that you are living up to that standard, right? But we both know that's not fucking true, right? So it doesn't mean a person's a bad person if they do something bad. It depends on how often they're doing bad things and how bad it is. But we also know that environmental things can push us. Conditions can push us, right? Someone in a really bad place in their life, in a really bad situation, can end up being a shitty person in that situation, right? And a lot of times when friends act bad, or girlfriends or boyfriends or husbands or wives, children, parents act shitty towards us, or we are the ones being shitty, we know that it's not as simple as, oh, they're just a bad person. In an ideal world, if they were a perfect being, could they act with perfect morality in every circumstance? Sure, right? But you're not a fully enlightened being, okay? And definitely the people that you're dating are not. So, knowing that we're dealing with imperfect beings, we need to think on a broader scope than just, oh, well, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat, and there's nothing you can do about it. No, that's not true. And anyone saying that doesn't have experience in the dating world, because if you do have experience in the dating world and you had a brain that was able to cut up these ideas and experiences and actually isolate variables that were creating conditions for these things to happen, you would know, watching your experiences and other people's behaviors, that when you decided to do bad things, or when you saw other people do bad things, there was always a lot of other things going on. And in a lot of cases, that environment or that set of conditions might have been avoided had you made better decisions, had you communicated better with your partner, right? I'm just going to come up with like a couple really quick ways and you'll understand what it is I'm hinting at. It's obviously more complicated than this, as you can see from this fucking list, right? And none of these are necessarily like number one. This is in no particular order, right? Any of these things can be stronger in different cases, right? Like her ethics could just be so bad. She's such a piece of shit that in any circumstance, at the slightest hint of like being around a hot guy, she'll suck dick. There are girls out there like that. And so in that case, you can say, yeah, she's a piece of shit. And could you have created a condition where she wouldn't cheat? Sure. But is success really worth it at that point, right? is twisting yourself in 10 different directions and always having perfect frame and always being the most attractive guy in the room really worth it just to keep her loyal? No. Obviously, there's fringe cases here. But you definitely know someone, or you can imagine someone, who has, over a long period of time, for instance, not set boundaries on behaviors that he's okay with. A girlfriend who wants to go out on girls' night and wear skimpy clothes. And he just consistently lets it happen and lets it happen and lets it happen. And let's say 99 out of 100 times, it actually didn't lead to anything. Maybe she flirted with some guys, which I have a threshold of self-respect that I wouldn't even be okay with that. But let's say like cheating, right? Like kissing a guy is like what you consider to be cheating, right? Just hypothetically. 99 out of 100 times she's went out, she didn't kiss another guy. So it's a successful relationship so far. But then on that 100th time going out, partly because you didn't set up boundaries with that girlfriend or wife, it led to a situation where she was able to be at a club, she got drunk, her friends were encouraging her, you recently had an argument with her, and you were an asshole, and now she wants to get back at you, or whatever other conditions, like, this check mark, this check mark, this check mark, this check mark. And then she found a guy who was hot, he was, being charismatic and cool and sexy, and she ends up kissing him and cheating on you. Boom. Okay? A lot of the things that led up to that moment were under your control to a certain extent. Right? Because when we talk about like controlling a woman, a lot of people get fucking frothing at the mouth and they're like, oh my God, she's not a slave. No one is saying that. What we are saying is that I can control the behaviors of people around me by putting up boundaries, clear expectations, communication of those boundaries and expectations, and my desires of what I want out of a partner. So to a certain extent, you are exerting control, right? You can call it peer pressure. Peer pressure is a type of control. If you ever in your life recommend something to a friend, you are exerting control over them. Influence to a certain extent, right? So maybe we don't say controlling your girlfriend, right? Oh, you got to control your bitch. No, okay. We'll just call it influencing your girlfriend or wife in a positive direction that leads them away from sucking some other dude's dick, right? Like, I don't know how you wanted me to fucking phrase it, but you have some control, right? So we need to start cutting up what makes a girl cheat and then reverse engineer it and go, okay, well, what are all these little parts? And then how much control do I have over them? And then what can I do to, make a good case, have a strong influence on her not choking on someone else's cock, right? So this is just a rudimentary, set of conditions that I think play a part in a girl's loyalty, right? Her ethics, obviously her character matters, fucking duh, right? That's the obvious one. But so is how much of a fucking pleasure seeker she is. Like, some women are high octane fucking I need new experiences all the time kind of girls. I've dated them before, right? And they tend to be hoes. It's not a difficult correlation or in this case causation of character traits, right? She's always wanting new experiences. Well, these girls tend to travel a lot, or they tend to fucking drink a lot, or do drugs, or they tend to hop from hobby to hobby, or from dick to dick, right? It's not just their sexual proclivity. It's their general life proclivities then being, let loose in the sexual realm, right? Well, she's a hoe in every other aspect of her life, right? Always changing friends, changing locations. Well, do you really expect that person to also be really good at staying loyal in this one area? It's like I always say, a friend who's bad with money, you might like him, but are you going to, hire him to work in your company, especially like being the financial guy in your company? Probably not, right? He might be good at selling or marketing, but He should not be in charge of the money. He should be allocated a very strict budget, and then he can do whatever he likes with that budget because he's a creative guy, right? So a girl who's like a pleasure seeker, well, she's just naturally going to be drawn to cock because cock is exciting for women. Just however much you love women, you think they're hot, they're sexy, they're beautiful. And we both know it's a very strong drive. It is potentially one of the strongest drives in the cosmos. It might even, and it does, override survival instincts. There are many cases going on right now. Someone right now, as we are talking, is being shot or stabbed because he put himself in a dumb fucking situation because of his dick, right? Or he's taking himself out, right? So the desire for like sex and love is very, very strong, right? So we know that. Well, women have the same level of desire towards men. They're better at not coming off this way because their desire isn't expressed as assertively as ours, right? Because we're the assertive sex in the seductive process. So you might look at women, because I'll say this, I'll be like, women love men just as much as men love women. They'll be like, oh, that's bullshit because then women would be... No, that doesn't mean women would be approaching men because that's not the role that they play. They have a different energy and it expresses itself differently. Right? It's like we both have magic powers, and our magic is expressed through fire magic, whereas women are expressed through, water magic, right? It shows itself differently. So men are the assertive, right? Now, girls can still do it on occasion, right? They're still human beings who can express themselves in very clear ways, right? But they're usually not doing the approaching. They're not usually doing the escalating. They're not usually doing the asking out. They can, but it's much more rare, right? But I can promise you, women like men just as men like women. They just don't show it in the same way. It's not some conspiracy. I mean, to a certain extent, women are trying to hide their level of thirst because they don't want to come off like hoes. But the thing is that if they were to express themselves like men, it kind of would actually brand them as a hoe to a certain extent because that would mean they have a masculine personality. And women who tend to have masculine personalities tend to be hoes. Sometimes stereotypes exist for a reason, right? So how much of a pleasure seeker a girl is, I mean, let's just keep it simple. She might end up cheating because of a lot of other conditions that are going on, right? But the final straw might be because she likes men, and so she meets a hot guy, and all these other things happen. But like the dominant factor is like, I just want to be free and wild and have fun, and then she gets bent over, right? But obviously how attractive you are as a partner plays a role, right? If you're the hottest guy she's ever met, and this is also where things get complicated because men, we see things from a male perspective. We have the male gaze, right? If you want to use, it's a feminist term, male gaze versus female gaze. I took a feminist class in college because I wanted to see the other side of like, I knew these ideologies were fucking retarded, right? But I wanted to see, who was influencing, right? And so you have all this literature from like a long time ago, like, I forgot there was a book called like the Medusa's Gaze or the Medusa's something, right? And I think this is where the term female gaze originates. I can't remember. And basically it was women talking about the male gaze and how women adapt to the male gaze and how that's a form of oppression, but it's not. It's a form of if that's what you want, then you need to adapt to the male gaze. If you want to be successful with men, you need to market to men. Like, it's such a simple idea, but they morph it as a form of oppression, right? Just don't play the game, right? Don't try to get men, right? But you can't force. It's like going to a bunch of fishermen and then trying to convince them to play Call of Duty. It's like some of them might, but they're fishermen. They want to fish, right? So you need to go to them with fishing rods and bait, not fucking Xboxes. Right. So if you want to appeal to men, men have a diverse thing of what they like, but mostly men are visual. Right. That's the male gaze. Doesn't mean men can't like, a girl who's funny, a girl who's this, yeah, sure. But men are primarily visual. It's the strongest motivator we have. And the converse is true. Women are not primarily visual. Do women like good looking things? Of course they do. Right. If you were in the top 1% of any attractive trait, whether it's being funny or being tall or being buff or having a huge cock or being charming or being, being good in bed or being intelligent, whatever, you're going to be attractive to women because you're just really good at that one thing. Just like anyone who's in the top 1% of like striking, he can beat some of the best fighters in the world just because he's really good at striking or really good at wrestling or really good at jiu-jitsu or, right? But as an overall rule, women are not as visual as men. So being attractive to women, if you come at it from the male gaze, the male perspective of how you see the world, you're going to create a strategy that is actually geared towards men, funnily enough. Now, if you do it really, really well, you're probably still going to be beautiful to women and attractive to them because you're tapping into like a universal type of beauty. Like anything taken to its 1% is going to be magnificent, right? But it has its limits because you're not, even female beauty, like you could have a woman who's a 10 out of 10, but annoying as fuck. She's going to have a really powerful effect on you because she is hitting your number one motivator, which is looks. But if after 6 months to a year, she is the most annoying cunt you've ever met in your life, or she's just fucking a bitch and a half, right? You're eventually going to tire of her. But that's usually going to be a stronger motivator than an ugly girl who happens to be like the best girl ever, right? You might decide later in life to end up settling with that girl because you've had the hotness before, but you prefer this for a long-term relationship. That can still happen, but it doesn't negate the fact that very clearly looks tend to be the strongest motivator for men, and personality tends to be the strongest motivator for women. Right? So when I say how attractive you are overall, you need to make sure you're understanding the female gaze. You understand that women are mostly attracted to personality. You should shape up your looks as best as possible. But you need to be charismatic. You need to be funny. You need to have game. You need to be able to have a conversation. You have to have good fundamentals, right? How you express yourself. When women are talking about looks, because there was this post on Twitter. It was a huge debate. And it was this picture of this guy when he was a little bit heavier and then when he was skinnier and ripped. And women were saying they prefer the left and men were like, no, you're lying. You prefer the right. No, because men are looking at just, oh, he has lower body fat. He looks sharper. Therefore, he's more attractive. That's the male gaze. Women were looking at his vibe. And his vibe, based on the way he was presented, his looks in the right was significantly less attractive than the left. And then some retard posted like him, the guy who was shredded, and then a different guy who was shredded, and there was girls commenting on how hot this other guy was, and he was shredded. They're like, see, women are lying. And it's like, this guy doesn't understand women. Because in the second picture, it was a famous actor who's not only much better looking, right? Because the guy on the left, he had a good body, but wasn't that good looking. But he was in a sexy position. He was like holding his hand up, and he was kind of like, he was contouring his body in a sexy way, just like women can like find good angles that are sexy. And he just had a sexual air about him because of his fundamentals. But the guy posting it isn't smart enough or experienced enough with women. He might be an intelligent guy, but he just doesn't have game. He doesn't know that, like, you can see a guy who has a really great body and then have a guy who has an identical body. And this guy is like 10 times more attractive because of the way he's very sexy in the way that he kind of lounges around, or he looks at her with, very predator eyes, and makes her feel, very turned on. And you need to understand that attractiveness, especially when women are talking about looks, isn't literally just you look like this. You look like this and you're expressing yourself like X and Y with your body language, facial expressions, vocal tonality, eye contact, hand gestures, and then you're coming off like this, or you're coming off like a goofball, right? Versus a sexy male model, right? There's a reason modeling is a thing. Right? Models learn how to hit the right angle and the right pose. Like good models. They look sexier because they know how to pose. That applies to real life, right? It isn't limited to just the cover of magazines or on Instagram posts. Like, you can be sexy in the way that you express yourself, right? So how attractive you are overall, sorry for the digression, but it's useful here. If you're really hot to her, then she's going to be less tempted by outside influences. So you should try to be as hot as possible. Now, you're never going to be able to be a 10 out of 10 in every area, right? There's going to be people out there that she's going to be more maybe physically attracted to, right? Or some guy who's funnier, or some guy who's richer, or some guy who is more clever, or a better speaker, or he X and Y that's better than you. But there's more than just that. Right? This is the red pill perspective. The red pillers say this is the number one thing, right? She's always looking to level up, right? If this guy is, richer than you, well, she's going to suck his dick because you're a pussy, and she's fucking monkey branching and hypergamy, rah. And it's like, bro, there is so much more than just the static value of attractiveness, because what I've been describing so far is mostly lust. There's also love, and there's also trust. Right? A girl can see a guy and he might be a little more attractive lust-wise, but you might be like decently in his area, but you're so much better of a person and she can actually trust you that his lust, his slight advantage of lust, doesn't override the amount of trust that she has built up with you as a person over a long period of time. Right? Now, that doesn't mean girls can't make short-term cheating decisions at a nightclub because a guy is incredibly hot. But usually in that case, there's a lot of other conditions going on, like what I'm fucking putting here. Maybe she's drunk. Maybe you haven't been fucking her. She feels neglected. You've let yourself go. You don't show that you appreciate her. You've lost your masculine edge. There could have been 10 different things, but a red pillar will go, oh, he's hotter. He has more. He has bottle service at a club. He's richer. He's higher status. Hypergamy. It's like, bruh. Ease your mind, right? There is definitely more going on there. I know, because I've worked in clubs, bro. I literally am standing there, and here's this guy who's fucking ripped, has money, or at least is pretending he has money, right? But is spending several $1,000s on a table. He has his hair perfectly done. Like, he's looking good. I was like, oh, this guy's attractive, right? I'm sure he's good with girls. And he's just standing there. And then I'm chatting with one of the girls who have been, like, basically pulled into his VIP area by one of the VIP hosts. And he's kind of just sitting there and he's not talking to anyone. And I'm talking to the girl and be like, why isn't he talking to anyone? I'm curious. And she looks at me and she's like, oh, that's how guys in San Diego are. They think they're so cool. They're too cool to talk to girls. And I'm like, bro, oh my God. It's like I'm behind enemy lines, right? But I realize that the enemy lines, as a joke, right? Women are seeing us, their enemy, but really we're friends. Well, we can be friends potentially, but most of us treat each other as enemies. See us the same way we see them, right? You see a girl acting all cool. Oh, girls in San Diego think they're hot shit. Like, I even had a guy, one of the best guys I've ever met with girls. Like, the guy was amazing, right? And he worked in this club with me. He even would say shit like that. He's like, oh, girls, all these girls in San Diego, they ain't shit, but girls back in Scottsdale, they're so much hotter, right? And girls here, a 7 out of 10 think she's a 10 out of 10. Like, he would say this shit, right? And he had so much game, but he still was limited in his viewpoints. Now, at the time when I met him, he was better than me. I eventually eclipsed him, right? And I learned a lot from him at the time. This was 10 years ago. But this guy was incredible with girls. But even he was being limited by his views because he was seeing shit so one-dimensionally. It's not a surprise that this guy socially, he's so intelligent. But, like, when it came into academics, the guy was dumb as fucking rocks. He's never read a book in his life. He said that. He's never read a full book in his life, right? The guy, like, super intelligent in one area, retarded in other areas, right? And he wasn't the greatest guy. He, like, chronically cheated on his girlfriend, like, a lot. And they're still together, though. I mean, there's a huge story behind that, but I'm not gonna, get into that. Anyways, so, the fuck was I talking about? 1 second. Let me backtrack. How, there was this guy, and to the red pillars, he would be like, I mean, this guy was good looking, fucking dressed nice, had money, He had no game. He was just fucking sitting there. Didn't get any pussy that night, right? Now, can girls be attracted to him? Yeah, but that attraction is going to die. Attraction is not this fucking display window. And it's like, this guy's attractive and he's always going to be attractive. No, attraction is not static. Attraction is like stock markets, bro. It's just like zip, zap, zoop, zip, zippity, boopity, bop. And you can be like, yeah, and then you say some dumb shit and you're here. So much for having a great haircut and having a body that you spent years on and taking fucking testosterone, and fuck you. You ain't getting no pussy tonight because you suck, bro. You fucking skill issue. You need to get some game, right? That guy was just sitting there acting all pretty and cool, and I'm just some fucking, busboy essentially, right? With a better name, table service. What we were called TSAs, table service attendant, right? And I would work with the smoking hot chick in lingerie who's the bottle service girl, right? And girls who would come into the VIP booths would end up making out with me or going home with me. And this guy was, literally, like, I remember once I talked to this girl, and then she ended up at the table I was at, and she literally just saw me, walked up to me, and started making out with me. And the guy who was doing bottle service, probably spending who knows how much money, it was like, I think there was like 800 minimums and it was a shitty table. It was 800 minimum. And that means he has to spend at least $800 to secure a table, which is like, I don't know, a couple bottles of vodka. And she just makes out with me. And I see this dude's face. He just looks at like, and he's probably thinking, he's like, what the fuck am I doing spending all this money? And I'm like, yeah, what are you doing spending all this money, right? I'm just wearing a black t-shirt and black pants that are covered in who knows what shit, right? And these girls are making out with me. Why? Because I got game, motherfucker, right? So, it's attraction is not static. Attraction is the stock market. It's fluctuating based on so many conditions, and a lot of them are not what you think they are. Doesn't mean looking good doesn't work. It's just not as strong of a factor that you think it is. Anyways, digression over. How strong your relationship was overall up until the moment. Like, let's say she has a decision time. Like, some guy's talking to her, and he asks her out, right? There's the decision moment. Is she going to say yes? Is she going to say no? Sorry, I have a boyfriend. I have a husband, right? She might have like all these other things pressuring her, but one of the things that might save you is the fact that you've been together a long time. Now that you've heard stories, like I'm sure you heard stories like 15 years together didn't mean shit to her. It did mean something. It just didn't mean enough. And there's a distinction, a very important distinction there, right? And what people who tell those stories tend to forget is, I've been a neglectful husband for years. I'm not justifying. Let me make absolutely clear. I'm not justifying infidelity. Infidelity is horrible. It is one of the 5 sins in my religion of Buddhism, right? Sexual immorality, right? It can, in my belief system, it can land you in hell, right? I take it very, very, very seriously. And I have violated in the past. I have cheated on a girlfriend, right? Since I've been married, I've taken it super, super seriously, right? Because over the past, half decade and a little bit before that, I became very serious about my morality, right? I looked at my infidelity in the past. I was like, oh man, I'm such a piece of shit. Like, I could say I was drinking or I was high or this or that, but that doesn't excuse it, right? I was a piece of shit. Like, there's no justification for it. I was a piece of shit, right? I should have either broken up with my girlfriend or just said no, right? So I'm not saying I'm some saint, but I do hold commitment and fidelity to a very high degree, okay? So I'm not justifying when women cheat. This isn't a video on justification. This is a video of understanding the conditions that go behind it and telling you that you have control over this because no one is going to be perfect. The only perfect beings out there are fully enlightened arahants. They are fully enlightened, right? They have gone beyond all craving so that they would never even be tempted to do something immoral because they don't have temptation anymore, right? But you're going to be dealing with very flawed people. So even though her ethics are very important and hopefully you are dating a good person, and if you're dating a bad person, you basically have 2 courses. Either realize you were an asshole. You were a dumbass. I guess you're an asshole, but realize you're a dumbass from marrying a fucking hoe or a bad person or dating a hoe or a bad person and break up with her. And then fuck you, right? And then, Or two, you need to be an octopus and be perfect all the time. I'm going to make sure I'm attractive here. I got to make sure I'm, influencing her really strongly here and doing this and, twisting yourself in a pretzel, being perfect to hold frame so that she won't cheat, right? But in a better situation, when you're dealing with a good woman, right, you just need to keep good maintenance, right? And outside of a fucking, catastrophe event of just like the perfect storm of bad things happening, she probably won't cheat. But you can never guarantee 100% someone won't cheat, right? And if you're very like venomous in the way you approach this, I guarantee you are not holding up, or I'm sure you're not up to the standard you're setting. People who are like really, really extreme about like condemning others, the most morally righteous tend to be the people with either something to hide or someone who's never been tested. Either you're very young and inexperienced and haven't had any like situations where you could have been tempted, and so you think you're morally righteous, or you're definitely trying to hide something. You've done some fucked up shit, but I'll wear it on my chest, right? I've cheated, I've lied, right? I haven't been a perfect person, but I still hold the morality to a high regard, but I understand that people are not perfect, right? You should date a good woman. You should be very strict with cutting off someone who is a bad person, whether it's a friend or a girl, right? But I'm also a realist, and I understand that people are not always going to act perfect. So you should do your best to basically create a relationship where she doesn't want to cheat. If you want to distill this entire video down to something simple, create a relationship where she doesn't want to cheat, and then also pick a partner who isn't very likely to cheat, right? Girls, if you want to just use it as a high metaphor, I'm saying that because someone retard's going to respond to this like really venomously. Think of girls as like investments in a business, right? And she's investing you in a business. She's making a bet, right? If I'm going to commit to this person for potentially the rest of my life, right, I need to make a good bet. Yeah, you need to see it that way. Again, metaphor, right? People are not businesses. I understand people are people. But you need to invest in a good business, right? And then maintain and then run the business. It's like you're investing in it and running it at the same time, right? Which I guess is running a business. You're investing in yourself, right? So you're running a business and investing in it. Same thing. You need to pick a good woman, a good business partner, and then actually run the business well. Think of it that way, right? That's what I'm saying with this video. But you can't just, oh, okay, that's easy. No, like you do need to understand the specifics of this. Like the specifics of this, because, well, that's what makes you a good business guy. A business, don't spend too much money, make money, go surplus. Well, yeah, I'm a billionaire now. No, you got to know how to communicate with your employees, how to, you buy this new machine that's more efficient and it saves you money long term, but it's an initial investment and you have to get a loan from a bank, and this is your interest rate, and like there's a lot of little things that you have to understand, a lot of little moving parts in business. Same thing with a relationship. There's a lot of moving parts and you need to understand them and study them. Luckily, that's what I'm here for, to explain how they work to you, right? So how strong your relationship was up until the moment where she makes a decision of to cheat or not is going to have an effect, because outside of the most ruthless psychopaths, people are influenced by their relationship to you, not just their attraction to you, but their level of compliance up until now, right? Compliance stacking is a thing, right? If you don't understand the principle of compliance, it's kind of like if you ever heard of the sunken cost fallacy, right? It happens a lot with gambling. Like if you've already gambled 10 grand, well, you're going to keep investing more into it because you want to try and make back what you've already lost, right? So if you invest like 10 grand into a business, right? And the guy comes to you and he's like, hey man, I just need 5K more. I just got this new project, but I ran out of capital. Okay, cool, right? Yeah, man, you're not going to regret it. You're much more likely to give that extra 5 after you've already given 10, That's called compliance stacking. It's like you get a little bit from someone, then you get a little bit from someone, then you get a little bit from someone. I've had this used against me, right? I had a guy who I met. He asked for some money, and I was like, sure, and he gave it back. Then the next time he asked for more money, and they ended up not giving that back. So his first ask was just to condition me to ask for the $100, which to him was a lot of money, I guess. I guess he needs it more than me, right? But unfortunately, he created a lot of bad karma. Sucks for him, right? But he needed it more than me. So, fucking gypsies. So, anyways, so how strong is your relationship up until now is going to have an effect because she has invested in you so much. Right? So the longer the relationship, but also how emotionally deep. It's not just the length of the relationship. So this is also a counter to the 15 years didn't mean nothing to her. Well, maybe it was 15 years, but it was 15 years of mediocrity. I can create a better connection with a girl in one day because X and Y. I have better game. I can I can fuck her better, whatever. Right? But it does have an influence. Number 5, what environmental factors, right? Yeah, she might be drunk. Oh, hey, maybe my girlfriend or wife shouldn't go out drinking with her friends. Because when you get drunk, you make dumb decisions. You ever been drunk? You ever been high? Yeah, exactly, dumbass. Right? Oh, well, I don't want to be insecure. No, you're just retarded. There are men who are insecure. And they treat women like, they put them in a gilded cage. That does exist. But the other extreme also exists. It's called you being retarded. Is she in a phase in her life where she's questioning everything? Yeah. Is she having a midlife crisis? It happens, right? Did she just have a baby and she feels like super fucking like, oh my God, I'm really in this. I'm really doing this. Like, but also, like I said, your choice of her had to do with this. Like if you chose to date someone who's very easily shaken by environmental things, right? When they get into, a depression, they do a lot of dumb shit. Well, they're probably going to do a lot of dumb shit later when you're dating them. But if you decide to get together with someone who handles themselves well in stressful situations, well, maybe, they're going to be a good partner. I remember my wife, we were only dating at the time, but there was fucking explosions going on around us. Like, around the block. Artillery shells slamming into the ground. Like, boom, boom, boom. I don't know if the next one's going to fucking take out the house. And my girlfriend at the time, is upstairs in the house folding clothes. And I run up and I'm like, what are you doing? Get in the basement. There's fucking artillery shells flying. Do you not hear the explosions? And she's like, well, I'm just folding clothes. What are we going to do? And I'm like, what do you mean we're going to do? We're going to hide in the basement so we don't fucking get turned into Swiss cheese. Like, what's going on? Now, to me, that's way too controlled in a chaotic environment. It's the other side of being retarded, right? And I say that with love. Like, she's a little bit too calm, it's not really in control of your emotions. It's suppressing your emotions at that point because it's like, okay, come on, let's get in the basement. Like, let's do the smart, rational thing, right? And maybe I'm on the other side of the chaotic, anxious side, but mine might lead to a higher survival rate. But it did show a quality of like, hey, this is a girl who won't freak out in chaotic environments. Again, maybe too chill and too calm when there's literal fucking rain of fire, but okay, whatever. So, pick a girl who handles herself well in chaotic environments. And who doesn't drink a lot, doesn't do drugs, right? Right? Use your fucking brain, right? If she has a history of getting blackout drunk, oh, okay, right? She might grab the keys and go driving. She might grab a cock and go driving. I don't know, right? Environmental factors. They can, but like I said, even the best person, you put the best person in an environment, someone convinces them to drink, and they figure out they have a side of themselves that they've never explored, right? Who knows, right? So you can do your part in preventing this. Don't be a dumbass. If your girlfriend's gonna go out, go with her. Make it a rule in your relationship. It's a rule in mine. But my wife doesn't go out. she'll meet her girlfriends to go on a walk. She's literally out right now, going for a walk with her friend. right? She doesn't have a desire to go out and drink. And if she did, when she was back in Ukraine, she would like, hey, I'm going to meet my friend for a glass of wine. And they go to a table and have a glass of wine. They're not going to a bar. They're not going to a club, right? They're having dinner. Be aware of what's going on in your business. Number 6, how appealing is the counteroffer, right? The other guy, right? So this is where we can just do, stat comparisons, right? He's this, you're this, or you're this and he's this, right? But sometimes this guy can be here on by a lot of metrics, but he can hit her with the one metric that you're failing at, right? Let's say you're really attractive, you're successful, you're running $1 million business, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. But he's very attentive. And for the past 6 months or a year, you haven't been very attentive. You've been neglecting her, and the right set of conditions happen, and she cheats on this guy who, by all accounts, is much lower value than you, right? I always remember this story. I read it. I forgot where I read it, but it was about some football player for the European gays, watching this. America! The fuck is a kilometer? Anyways, I think he was a pro in the Premier League, and his wife cheated on him with some guy from her hometown who was like a lumberjack. And then he was like, they stayed together after, and then he took her on a vacation to try and rekindle their relationship. And I'm like, what? That's so fucking dumb. Like, just divorce her or cut her off. Like, what are you doing, right? But she cheated on him with some nobody. But that nobody had something he wasn't providing. Probably had to do with being neglectful, I suspect, to a certain extent. Or he could have been cheating too, right? So this is number fucking 7. Does she have any motivations of revenge against you? A lot of these stories, right? Famous celebrity who by all accounts is super high value, gets cheated on by his wife or girlfriend. Well, you don't know the whole story. You don't fucking know these people. High value men who have tons of women chasing after them. You think they stay loyal? How confident are you? Right? If we're going to be cynical, let's be cynical. How confident are you that the majority of those men, how would you handle it if you were famous, rich, and you open your DMs and I know people who will open their DMs and get nudes, right, from hot girls, right? Are you going to be able to resist this temptation, right? I don't know. Some of you, yes. Some of you, no, right? It's quite intoxicating, especially if you've never gotten it. I mean, I've gotten it, and I'm a fucking nobody, right? I was single at the time mostly, right? And then I actually just had a girl. This is a funny story. Side tangent, totally weird, but side tangent. But to illustrate my point, I wrote this book, King of College. I don't sell it anymore because it's just me getting drunk and fucking a bunch of girls, and it was a bit toxic. Like, I tried to rewrite it, but it ended up just being not the kind of message I want to put out in the world. But there was this girl from one of the stories. I really liked her back then. Like, I think I was in love with her, and I ended up taking her virginity. But then things kind of just didn't work out. I was just a dumbass in a lot of ways, but she also wasn't perfect. Anyways, things didn't work out, and I ended up graduating and leaving. Well, I ended up writing this book, and she was one of the characters in it, right? And she was a big deal in the story, I think. And I ended up sending her a message on Instagram, and I said, hey, I wrote this book and you're in it. I feel like you're entitled to like read it if you would like to. Well, she never ended up responding. A couple weeks ago, 6 years after I sent this message, she messages me. And I see her in the DM, and I'm like, what? Why is she messaging me? And I open it, and she's like, hey, Hector, long time no talk. Looks like you're, living quite the life, blah, blah, blah. Sorry I didn't respond. Like, the way it was written, because I'm very in tune now to, like, texting. I have a whole fucking book on texting, right? I can read between the lines. I get intentions, right? And I get what people are trying to do. The way she wrote the text was almost like, hey, sorry I didn't respond last week, but... and it was 6 years later, bruh. And she's like, yeah, I didn't respond, da-da-da, but I was going through my phone, and I saw a screenshot of your message, and I realized I never responded to you. So she saw the message, but she never even read it because it always stayed unread. Like you can see if something's read in Instagram or not. And I never got the read at 8 p.m. notification. But she did read it. She saw it show up in her inbox, screenshotted it. I could even see like the accept or block or ignore button, and then decided to finally respond after 6 years. I'm presuming there was some rationale behind it. She probably was in a relationship and didn't feel comfortable responding, or who knows, or maybe she was still mad at me, whatever. And although we had talked after we things didn't work out with us, like 6 months to a year later, and she did respond to that, and she was pretty cordial. So I think she was in a relationship. But anyways, that's not the right way to have expressed yourself. I knew she was playing games. It's like she hadn't grown up since college. She was playing the whole, sorry I didn't respond. Come on, bitch. Like, just say, hey, I never responded to you because I was dating someone and da-da-da-da. I know it's 6 years later, but blah, 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 blah. Talk to me like a human being. But no, she's playing games. And, but, I mean, I think she's a very attractive girl, right? She's totally my type. But she messages me, and I looked at it, I thought about it, I was like, should I just send her the book even though I don't publish it anymore, this and that, and I looked at the way how she responded, and then I was like, yeah, should I even be talking to her, right? Is this even appropriate, right? My wife knows what I do. I'm very open, she knows everything. I even told her about the message. I'm like, hey, this girl messaged me, and da-da-da-da-da, right? But I ended up deciding that the best thing to do was just not to respond. A part of me was motivated by getting her back and leaving her unread. But I also, and I can't deny that, but that's a very small motivation, right? The majority of the motivation was just, you know what? I just don't think I don't even want to go down this road. I just don't think it's appropriate. I shouldn't be talking to her, right? Especially we've had history. I mean, she's literally drank my cum and I took her virginity. There is some history between us, and I'm a married man and I take my commitment very seriously. Do I think I would have been a bad person had I said, hey, good to hear from you. Hope everything's well. Here's the book if you're interested in reading it. I don't publish it anymore. These are the pages you can find our story and blah, blah. But I was like, you know what? I just don't want to touch this. But if there was a guy who hadn't had the success that I've had, been with X amount of girls or had X experiences and this and that, and kind of sowed my oats or whatever, right? Might there be some guy who would have been tempted and said, oh, here's my old flame messaging me from college, and things kind of ended on a bad note. She's messaging me for a reason. If any of you are like, oh, it's just an innocent message. Nah, she's looking to suck some dick. Come on, bro, let's be real, right? Might some other guy be a little bit more tempted? Right? I'm not attracted to her. I'm aware of these things. I'm not an idiot, right? I mean, yeah, she's probably still hot, or who knows? Maybe she's fucking gone down the drain. I don't know. But she's probably still hot, right? She's only probably fucking 28 now or 29, right? But the situation, no thanks. Cool. Next, right? I'm happy with my relationship, or I'm happy with my marriage. And even if I wasn't, I wouldn't, go to infidelity, because I've gone down that road before, right? But if you were in my position or another guy was in my position, I don't think everyone would be able to say no. They'd be like, oh, yeah, this chick wants my dick. Maybe I'll get it. Now imagine you're fucking Ronaldo, or you're fucking this guy or that guy or this guy. Man, fuck. I'm a small fry in terms of social status, right? And I've gotten laid from girls just messaging me because of my Instagram or my YouTube. I've had threesomes because of it. And again, I'm a small fish, right? Imagine if you have 100,000 followers or 1 million. Fuck, dude. Even if you're only attractive to 1 out of 1 million people, if you have 1 million followers, 1 million times 1 million, right? You're gonna be attractive to, 1 million times 1 million, is that 10 billion? That's probably it. You don't have 10 billion people attracted to you. But if 1 out of 1,000 people are attracted to you, if you have 1 million followers, that's 100 people that are attracted. No, that's 100,000, Hector. 1 out of 1,000. 1,000 times 100 is 100,000. 10,000. Yes. 1,000 times 10,000 is a million. Fuck me, bro. You know what I'm saying, right? Even if you're not that attractive, if you get enough people, you're going to be attractive to a lot of people, right? Think of the most unattractive guy on YouTube, right? But if he has 1 million people following him, there's going to be some girls who are attracted to him. Well, now imagine if you're fucking sexy. or you're charismatic, or you're cool, or you're funny. Well, fuck, man, that's a lot of temptation, brother. So, do you think all these dudes out here are telling you the full story? Let's circle back. Do you think they haven't been fucking around? Oh, she cheated on me, da-da-da. Left out the fact that he was sexting some girl. Right? Does that justify what she did? Nope, it doesn't. It does not, good sir. But does it explain it for the sake of understanding? Yes, it does. Right? Has she been neglected by you? Right? These things, right? This is, again, what the red pillars don't understand. Attraction is just, it's much more than, I have X net worth and X dick size. I am, therefore, a 8.75 out of 10 on the Richter scale. Okay? Come on. It's better than that. It's more robust than that. Number 8, what kind of consequences will she face if she cheats? Probably some burked up chick wearing a fucking, carpet is going to be a lot less incentivized to cheat on her husband because she's going to get dragged into the sand and shot versus some chick in fucking, most polyamorous, hyper-liberal Portland social circle where cheating is considered a virtue, right? She's going to be a lot, not necessarily incentivized, but she's going to have less consequences because she's cheating, right? Well, it's you're smoothing the gears there. You're lubing the gears, right? It's going to move a lot easier when there's less resistance, right? So her circles are going to matter, right? I'll give you an example. This is going to make me look bad, but I'm going to be honest with you. I was sleeping with this girl a long time ago. I was in Romania, and I was fucking this chick, and she had a boyfriend, and we would sleep together frequently. And at some point, we were laying in bed, and she's like, "By the way, I told my mother and sister about you." And I was like, "Okay." And she detailed telling them that she was cheating on her boyfriend, and they were happy for her. It was a family of hoes, and again, I'm not better than them. I was just as bad, right? But they were like, "Good for you. Hope you have some fun." Now, again, not justifying it, but probably the boyfriend, there's something it's very weird for these girls to be supporting her. Probably the boyfriend wasn't so great of a guy. Not justifying, just explaining. But yeah, they were like, "Oh, hope you have fun, da 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 da. Just be careful, don't fall in love with him," right? But she was in love with me, right? And so her environment is one of supportive towards infidelity, right? Whereas a different girl might have a mother or a sister or a friend who will be like, "Hey, I know that guy got your number, and I know you're texting him. You really shouldn't go down this road. It's a bad idea, da 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 da." And that might be enough to wake her up and go, "You know what, this is a bad idea," and she blocks him or something, right? Because consequences are much more than just, like I said, being dragged out into the sand and shot because you cheated. And I think cultures like that take it too far, right? I don't think you should be killing someone over that or anything, really. I'm a Buddhist, right? But I think that there should be social consequences, right? Because shame does have power, right? But do I think it should be taken to an extreme? No, right? Every situation is different, right? But consequences or the fear of consequences or the lack of fear of consequences will affect how likely she is to cheat, right? And those consequences can range from punitive consequences, right? If you're in a culture where divorce is illegal, if you are social consequences, right? Being shamed by family, relationship consequences, right? Are you going to break up with her? Does she think you're going to break up? This other girl who I ended up hooking up with too, who had a boyfriend, before she cheated with me, she had cheated with a different guy a week earlier or something. And then when she told her boyfriend, she was like, "Yeah, I made out with him." And his response was essentially, and this is from her mouth, "Oh, all you did was kiss him? Oh, I thought it was more than that. You're fine." Okay, so in her mind, she goes, "Oh, there's not that many consequences," right? And people, to a large extent, are like animals, right? If we're not getting smacked, we're a lot less de-incentivized, demotivated to do bad shit, right? If for a rich person a crime just requires paying a fee, then it's not a crime anymore. It's just a pay to win scenario, right? It's a pay to win game. So her boyfriend set up a situation where there weren't consequences for cheating. But if you start a relationship with a woman, and I think this is one of the things you should do, and you say, look, I have a no tolerance on cheating. If you so much as like touch a guy seductively, God forbid you kiss someone, you're done instantly. I might not even talk to you anymore. Like, boom, okay, done. And that's it. And you make it clear, and you say that shit with your chest, she's going to think twice, right? Because the punishment is losing you. Because if she's in a relationship with you at all, I mean, she likes you to some extent, right? Even the most, like, she's settled situation, she at least likes the guy a little bit, right? It may be her 10th choice, but at least he's on the list, right? So, you should date women who tend to have, more traditional family values, who have a family that probably wouldn't be too happy with her cheating. That she has friends who aren't reckless, degenerate, immoral, pieces of shit. You should set up the expectations that if she were to cheat, goodbye, right? So, it's not as simple as, how long is this fucking video going? Oh, Jesus on a biscuit. 56 minutes. Well, whatever. It's a very complicated topic. So it is due this level of length, probably 10 times this length, right? At some point I'll do a relationship course, but still working on the notes for that one. There's so many factors that go in. This is just, these are generalized, right? There's little trees within these that offshoots of these, right? Like, how strong is your relationship? What does that mean? Well, that can mean a lot of things, right? It can mean your sex life. It can mean your friendship. It can mean your camaraderie. It can mean your how she sees you as a lover, how she sees you as a friend, how she sees you as a father if you have children, right? There's a lot of different things, environmental factors. Oh my God, like, how many environmental factors are there? It's not just getting drunk. It's friends. It's her stage in her life. It's her career. It's her. I think there's so many fucking things there. How hot is this other guy? Is he may be, like I said, X more attractive in one area, but not other areas. But that one area is the one thing that she feels like she's missing. It's like, fuck me. There's so many factors here. So every person can, like, let's say you have 10 guys who got cheated on. They could come to me and tell me the story and write up like a report. And there will be 10 different reasons why she cheated. And what happens is, if you learn the lesson from this, from either your own experiences or someone else's, you can find the flaws in your game. Patch those holes, sand up those rough parts, and you will create less conditions for a woman to cheat. You'll create less motivations for a girl to cheat. But the short version is, be as attractive as possible on all fronts, not just from the male gaze, but from the female gaze too. Satisfy her desires as much as possible. Root out bad influences and enforce as many boundaries that are reasonable, right? That aren't authoritarian. But authoritative is good, not authoritarian. Distinction, if you don't know what that is, just Google the definitions. Have boundaries and enforce them with conviction. And then work on any areas of those three things where you are failing. And if you want to think in terms of my attraction system of love, lust, trust, think, where are the areas where I fail? I'm a very trustworthy, nice guy. I'm just not the sexiest guy. Okay, well, you need to work on that. The short version is, create a relationship that's so great on all fronts. Sex life, conversation, connection, trust, working together. That is so great that she would be the dumbest bitch in the world to cheat. Now, Are there guys out there who will do that? And they happen to have the dumbest bitch in the world and she cheats? Yeah, that's going to happen. But chances are it's not you. Some fucking retard's going to watch this and go, oh yeah, that's me. Yep, you got it. She's just the dumbest bitch in the world. Everything's great with me. You sure about that? You sure about that? Are you sure that's you? You're the one in fucking a million case situation where you were great. She just sucks. Maybe let's think again. And you picked her. You're the greatest guy ever, right? Perfect relationship, but you just happen to pick the dumb bitch, right? Is there a situation where you're the best guy ever, best relationship ever, and you picked a great girl? You just happen to find the perfect storm of sequences that made her cheat? Now, we're talking not 1 in a million. We're talking 1 in a billion. Like, if you're an amazing guy, you have an amazing relationship, and she's a great girl, there are so few circumstances where she's going to cheat. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's probably not, you're probably not that exception, right? So for the most part, you just need to get better. It is and always has been and always will be a skill issue for the most part. Because if you really were that great, you would have picked someone who's great. Cool. Love you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. And we will talk again soon. Ciao, ciao.